Welcome to Manage to Engage, the podcast from clearandopen.com, dedicated to the evolution of you because businesses grow when people do. Serving leaders, managers, and people who will be, helping you reach excellence in your work and achieve your personal goals at the same time. Sign up for the free course at clearandopen.com. That busyness makes us stupid. It's easy to observe because it clutters your mind. And when your mind is cluttered, you don't think as well, you're not as conscious, you're not as aware, you're not as clear-minded, you don't take as good care of yourself. You're just in this doing mode. And it's not healthy, it's easy to see. Hi, it's Joseph, and thanks for tuning in to Manage to Engage, the podcast from clearandopen.com. Over the next 3 episodes, we're going to get back to the basics of busyness and recuperation. We're going to examine why we as individuals and as a society put such high value on being busy, both consciously and unconsciously. Because when we tell ourselves we're busy, what if we're just trying to make ourselves feel better about whatever it is we're doing? The busy mind is creating an illusion of productivity when, in reality, most of us operate inefficiently in ways that are difficult to look at. And we don't have to consider how to become more efficient then, if we tell ourselves how busy we are in a congratulatory way. I offer weekly member webcasts, online courses, and mentorship at clearandopen.com because it's my truth that with the right tools, anyone can eliminate the people, money, and time problems holding them back in business. And I share parts of these webcasts and courses on this show because I want to help you too. If you're enjoying the show and learning from it, I'd love your feedback. If you're listening to the show on an Apple device, all you have to do is open up the podcast app, view the full description of this episode, and click the link to leave a rating and review for the show. Thanks so much for listening. Let's start the show. I want to talk about busyness today. Is anybody busy? Yeah, okay, then we should probably talk about busyness. If none of you are busy, then talking about something else. Let's talk about busyness.
How is it different from overwhelm?
It's not really.
Oh, okay.
Depends how we define. I love the question. Depends how you define the term. I'd say overwhelm could be acute or chronic. Right? It's not differentiated that way. So I'd say busyness could be acute or chronic. You could have a very busy day. Something could happen. It could make you really busy, or you could be busy for like 10 years. As many people are. A busyness, I think of, overwhelm. If you ask 1,000 people if overwhelm is bad, most of them would say, definitely a simple majority, probably 80, 90% would say, yeah, overwhelm is bad. That's not happy. That's not joy. Overwhelm, that's not good. But if you ask 1,000 people if being busy is bad, you'll get different answers, right? Because people say things like, oh yeah, I got to keep busy. I got to stay busy. It keeps me out of trouble. I like to stay busy or else I get bored, right? We say that.
Mm-hmm. We say that. It's the socially acceptable way to show that you're productive.
I love that you said that. I thought you were going to say it's the socially acceptable way to justify your overwhelm. But it's both of those things. And it depends.
Yeah, probably is. Yeah, right. Yeah. And that's one's internal and one external.
Oh, brilliant, Bob. Nice. Wow. I just want to take a moment to take that in. Yeah. So overwhelm, we don't like. It's bad. But busyness is, look how productive I'm being. And, if you scratch the surface of most professionals in the world, if they're not busy and they get real quiet, they'll start to feel guilty. Like, well, they should and could be doing something. Right? Aided and abetted by technology, for sure. Because with technology, you can always be doing something. If you've got your phone with you and an internet connection, you could be doing something. And this is quite a challenge and an opportunity for us because human beings have never been busier as a whole in the history of hominid consciousness, like 200 million years worth. We're the busiest we've ever been. And that's really stunning. Think about it. that way. Because the pace of life, I wouldn't say is so fast, because that's would take away the choice mechanism we have, but it certainly can be. You can go that fast. And like Bob just said, it's socially acceptable to be a productive member of society all the time. Like, oh, how you doing? Well, I'm keeping busy. Right? I'm keeping busy. How you doing? Oh yeah, I got a lot going on. So much going on, I can barely keep up.
It's a common question when contractors get together. Are you busy?
Right. Are you busy?
And I guess that's usually, I take it to mean, do you have enough work?
Exactly.
But it might be something else. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's a mix, right? You hear that a lot. Do you have enough work? Are you keeping busy?
Yeah.
Do you have enough to do? And there's a whole value system inside that question, right? Idle hands are the devil's playground or workshop or whatever it is, right? Because that's where that phrase, if you're, I gotta stay out of trouble, right? I keep busy, stay out of the trouble. Because if you don't have something to keep yourself occupied, then, you're susceptible to mischief. Well, I have a big Byron Katie question for that. Is that true? If you don't have enough to do, will you start committing crimes? What is it that happens? Why are we so afraid of not being busy? What the hell is that?
I'm intrigued by the concept that we're busier now than humans have ever been. It's a little counterintuitive to me.
Well, because we're not in survival mode, having to hunt and gather and all.
Yeah. Like if I was hungry and my family didn't have enough food, I'd get my ass up earlier and go to work and get going after it earlier. It would seem like there would be more pressing needs for labor when you were not meeting your hierarchy of needs.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brown Jr. Has an expression for survival living called being time rich. And what I took that to mean is that there was plenty of time to do things. And there was plenty of leisure time. If I recall correctly, that's the impression I got from how he described it. So which would be maybe, again, suggesting, agreeing in a sense with what Joseph said. The hunter-gatherer state was not so busy. There were obviously busy times, but on the whole, not.
Exactly what I was going to say. Certainly there could be a drought or, all the animals took off. There could be acute busyness. But generally it's like, at night when you're sitting around the fire, you're not checking your email on your phone while you're sitting around the fire, right? And do you guys remember the last time you sat and listened to a whole album without doing anything else? You're just sitting and listening to that music. And what are you doing? You're listening to that music. You're not cleaning the house. You're not checking your email. You're not working out. You're just sitting and listening to that. We did that not long ago, right? 10, 20 years ago. But now to just sit and listen to an entire album, well, you're wasting your time. You could be doing so much other stuff, Because it's like when it was a record, like a piece of vinyl, you had to put the needle on there. First of all, there's no remote control. If you need to change the volume, you're going to have to be nearby the box, right? And then, after 30 minutes or so, you're going to have to turn that album over. So you've got to be nearby. And there's no earphones. So, wireless earphones. My God, that's totally new. So you could walk around and clean the house while you're doing it. You didn't have a phone, not even cordless phones 20, 25 years ago, right? Not even the 2.4 gigahertz cordless phones existed. And so, the phone might ring and then you'd have to get up and go answer it, but you couldn't make calls. You would sit and you would do one thing. But we never do one thing anymore. If you want to do one thing, you got to take action. You got to put your phone on do not disturb. You got to put your computer on do not disturb. You got to close your door. You got to let people know maybe where you're going to be and what you're doing for a while. But we live in a in a world where multitasking comes and tries to find you. Right? All of the apps on your phone, their default mode is notifications on, baby. They're going to come find you. Right? And then because of technology, there's an expectation that people should be able to reach you immediately. Right? We're all old enough to remember when there wasn't even voicemail, or before there were answering machines. You'd call someone up, they weren't home. They'll never know that you called. Right? You're going to have to try again another time. They're not home. Remember when you would call someone up and say, "Hi, is John there?" You don't even have to do that anymore. John answered his phone. Right? And remember, like, "Hi, is John there?" Yeah, 1 second, which would never be 1 second. It would be like a minute. And then John would get on the phone. These are long periods of time. What were you doing while you waited for John to get on the phone? Were you checking your email? No, because you didn't have a cell phone. Right? You were just standing there waiting for John to pick up. That's it. And these are little periods of time, waiting in the grocery line, waiting for someone to pick up the phone, waiting on hold, where we actually used to only wait, only do nothing. But now we could be doing 10 different things. You could be checking the weather, or seeing what's going on with the Kavanaugh hearing, or responding to an email, responding to 6 texts you got in the last 20 minutes. You could be doing anything. You could be, Googling the lifespan of a platypus because it just crossed your mind. Right? You could be trying to figure out what that caterpillar that you brought in off the fennel plant yesterday is, right? Like, that's a great example. I brought in a fennel plant yesterday, and this big fat caterpillar with these sort of eye drawings all over it. Never seen one before. And it's in my kitchen now. I'm keeping it as a pet to see if I can get it to turn into a butterfly. And because brought him in. And now, like, on my mind is, oh yeah, I need to figure out what kind of caterpillar that is. Right? 30 years ago, I'd have to go to the library to do that. Right? But now, if I just carve out a couple minutes of time, I can do that. And now that's on my mental to-do list. 20 years ago, it wouldn't be there, because I would be like, well, do I want to go to the library and figure out what kind of caterpillar this is? Nah. I guess I'll just live in the unknown. No, now it's like, well, what's it going to turn into? So you know what? I don't think I'm going to look it up. Because I don't want to know what it's going to turn into. I figured out what it likes to eat. I mean, it came on a fennel stalk, so it likes those. So I'm just going to live in the unknown. Right? We don't live in that kind of spaciousness anymore. So this is a kind of busyness that I'm asserting. And the busyness is such a strong wave that I really think it may be the thing that destroys us as a species. I'm not exaggerating. Because that busyness makes us stupid. It's easy to observe because it clutters your mind. And when your mind is cluttered, you don't think as well. You're not as conscious. You're not as aware. You're not as clear-minded. You don't take as good care of yourself. You're just in this doing mode. And it's not healthy. It's easy to see. And in particular, it makes us suckers for instant gratification. Right? Because instead of taking a breath or just relaxing, the mind goes, well, you could be accomplishing something right now, because that will make you a better member of society. Be productive, be busy, right? Being busy is good, get something done. So instead of just enjoying the sunshine while I'm lying in a hammock, I'll try to not even process email, read my email. Study up on that caterpillar, do something. Right? And that's all this yogic kind of expression of mind, which is certainly a great quality that we human beings have, but it's only half of the picture. One of my martial arts teachers once was talking about the power of relaxation. Said if you walk up a mountain and you contract your muscles and never let them go, you're not going to get very far. Right? The way a muscle works, right? When you flex a biceps, the biceps is contracting, the triceps, the opposite muscle, is lengthening and relaxing. You can't do both at once. Right? Well, you can flex both at once, but you can't really, actually you can. You can flex both, and it looks like this, right? I'm resisting, that's isometric, one muscle going against another in a way. Right? But it's much more efficient to let go of one muscle and contract the other. So there's every muscle contraction. I mean, when you're functionally moving something, it's a lengthening of one muscle and a contracting of another. But we don't think of the relaxing as being a doing. We think of the contracting as being a doing, right? So when you take a step, for example, when you take a small lunge up an incline, up a mountain, you're flexing certain muscles and relaxing certain muscles. And then when you switch to the other leg and take the step with the other foot, the muscles in that other leg had better relax for a moment. And if they don't, you cramp because they never get a break. It's all ones and no zeros, you see? And this is one of the things you learn in, certainly in athletics. That's what economy of motion and fluid movement is. And also, interestingly, in musicianship, right? I know in guitar, they call them micro rests. When you're playing scales, one of the things you do is when you start to play faster and faster, you look for where you start to get tired, and then you start to look for, when this finger is down, my second finger is down, and my first finger is up. That's a micro rest moment. It can relax there. Because every time it relaxes, all the waste products from what the muscles are doing get to flow back into the system and oxygen gets to come in. But if you're gripping all the time, if you just hold a really tight fist for a while, you're going to find your fingers become less dexterous, right? There needs to be an on and an off. So the problem with busyness, which is what we're talking about here is chronic overwhelm, is that you're always on and you're never off. And this goes against nature, right? Like an anaconda can eat something the size of a goat and then just sit there for like 6 days while it digests, right? Or lions, they kill a zebra or something and they just sit around for a couple of days. It was a huge effort, a big one, and then that's equaled by a big zero. You can see this everywhere in nature. Work hard, play hard, we say. But the play often is not so recuperative, right? So another way of talking about this is if you look at our lives today, there's not a lot of structured recuperation time where we do things that actually regain energy. And television, screen time, movies, it's a really good example. Ask yourself, is that time that you spend looking at a screen, when you're done with that, do you actually feel like you have more energy than you started with? Is it actually recuperation time? Sometimes it might be, but I think a lot of times it's not. Watching a half hour or an hour of TV give you the same recuperation feel as taking a stroll in the woods? Does it result in the same thing? So if you start to look through the lens of recuperation, where you actually get your energy back, things start to look differently.
Thanks for listening to Manage to Engage, the Clear and Open podcast. Join us next week when you'll be a little bit closer to who you're destined to be. Until then, know that Clear and Open is dedicated to the evolution of you, because businesses grow when people do. If you want to help the show grow, I'd appreciate you leaving a rating and review on iTunes. All you have to do is open the Apple Podcasts app, view the full description of the episode, and click the link to leave a rating and review. Or you can go to clearandopen.com/review and it will bring you to the right place. If you're looking for more support on your journey, head over to clearandopen.com for even more tools, articles, and free resources. Thanks so much for listening. Bye for now.